So I'm kind of in a new location. I work for a company. YouTube clearly does not pay my bills. So I have a regular job. So I work for a company, and the company that pays my bills. And we've recently moved. So this is a new location. I probably will be doing some cinema reviews here. And it's been a while, and I do apologize about that. Like I said, I've been busy with my work. I've also been busy with other things as well, other projects, and also just taking some classes on the side just to keep my mind going. I am a little behind. That's not to say I've stopped on Anthonix Maximus. I've just kind of slowed things down. There are new episodes coming of the Anthonix Maximus web series, Season 2. I'm hoping to get that done and start releasing in the fall. I've said that a few times, but I've actually started filming and have a whole bunch of episodes in. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this special cinema review. It's kind of a up-to-date of 2019 so far, but I'm gonna throw in a few 2018s of movies that I've missed as well. Well, I didn't miss them. I still saw them, but missed on the opportunity to tell you about it. So this is the non-spoiler version. The non-spoiler. If you want to hear the spoiler, then of course check out the spoilers. Otherwise, let's get this going. It's been a while, so if I miss any details, I'll just kick myself later, alright? So let's just get some of the 2018 out of the way. First one being Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That one came out probably around November of last year. And, I gotta say, it's actually pretty good. I really did enjoy the movie thoroughly. For an animated movie, it really had the nice vibrant colors that Spider-Man should be having. I mean, the actors actually did a very good job. The voice work is great. Miles Morales is a lovable Spider-Man in this film. What they did with the bad guys, I thought was actually pretty good. Kingpin, very intimidating. He's, no matter who plays him, he's usually intimidating one form or another, but this one actually gave him a real nice backstory to make him why he is. And his goal really is to try to tap into the other Spider universes and try to reclaim what he lost, which was his wife and kid. They died in a car accident, so he's just trying to recapture that. It's a selfish motivation. This is where you get an origin story of Miles Morales. This is a whole nother universe aside from the Spider-Man that we normally know. And 2018 was quite the year for Spider-Man. I mean, he died in the Infinity War. Venom came out, and then you have this movie as well. So yeah, we were seeing quite a bit of Spider-Man 2018. And a lot of people would say this is the best Spider-Man movie, but that's not really fair for me to say, because it's easy to be best when you're gonna count cartoon. I don't count cartoon or animation to live action, because with animation you can get away with more. Definitely loved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The music was great. The inside jokes were hilarious. And yes, I recommend it. Before I continue, you see my eye traveling, or you hear background noise like the elevator or people walking by. I apologize. I am actually recording at my office. This is not my office. This is actually a quiet space where people, make phone calls or whatever. It's actually a phone booth, but without a telephone. You have to provide that yourself. The next movie I want to talk about is Aquaman. Aquaman is one I was really upset with about not talking about at the time. I just had a lot going on, and that's not really an excuse, but I really did have a lot going on. So Jason Momoa, I liked him as Aquaman in Justice League, although he was kind of silly to me in Justice League because his one-liners like, "Oh yeah, my man," drinking beer. I think he was trying to channel Macho Man Randy Savage. This was actually a very great movie. James Wan did a fantastic job directing this one because he's one of those directors that love ongoing scenes and using minimal cuts. And I think that's actually something he should be known for at this point. I mean, if you've ever seen Annabelle or The Conjuring or anything like that, that seems to be his kind of go-to. Aquaman itself, the movie, is very colorful. It really does take some pace, and it goes back and forth from serious to lighthearted, but it's not really jarring, so that's a positive. There's a lot of chemistry between Jason Momoa and Amber Heard, and you can see the chemistry being brought out on screen. Black Manta was a very good villain. No, Black Manta was a great villain, though. Just not enough of him. There was more of Jason Patric, which he's worked with James Wan before in The Conjuring. His interpretation of the villain in this movie, being Orm, the Ocean Master, was pretty good, too. Of course, a role like that doesn't really ask for much. And yes, it's easy to say that this movie is like Black Panther or Thor, but the plot's always going to be the same if it's about royalty and trying to reclaim the throne. You can only stretch your mind far with that one. Yeah, my only complaint about the movie is it's too long. Like, really too long. Also, that horrible version of Africa that's being played by some pop singer. Could not stand that one. And who knows, maybe the movie isn't really that long. Maybe if I watch it at home, it'll be fine. I happen to have watched it in a crappy movie theater where my knee touched the back of the seat in front of me. So it's actually cramping for the whole entire time. Don't get old, kids. Don't get old. Mary Poppins Returns. Never was a fan of the first Mary Poppins. I mean, it's nice, it's beautiful, it's colorful, it's whimsical, but it just was never my world. I've only seen the movie for the first time like 5 years ago. So for me to make any comparisons in this film, I think they captured the same amount of heart that they had originally for the first movie. And the fact that it had Lin-Manuel Miranda in it just made the film topped the film much more. It does have a cameo from the original movie. I won't say who though. But overall, yeah, it's a cute movie if you just want to play it for the kids. Otherwise, you don't have to really rush out and watch it. You know, the movie that's probably out on Blu-ray by this point of me saying so. And then we got Bumblebee, as far as live action goes, ever. Better than the Michael Bay formers. This movie finally captured the spirit of the Transformers. The Autobots, Decepticons actually looked like their cartoon counterparts, which means you could tell who was fighting who. This could be a prequel, but if they wanted to slip in the fact that it's actually a reboot, I would be totally fine with it, because there are elements in this movie that makes no sense for it to be a prequel. As far as the girl of the film, I'm really skipping on her name, I apologize, but her and Bumblebee actually had some real heart, more heart than I ever saw with Sam and Bumblebee, or Mark Wahlberg and Bumblebee. With the girl, I actually felt like Bumblebee was actually there and not just her pretending someone was there. John Cena, you know, he's not really one for being a great actor, but he's not a terrible actor either. He's just is kind of like in his own genre of level of acting. But that did not take away from the movie. He represented pretty well. And then we got Bohemian Rhapsody. Now that movie was actually pretty good too. I mean, as loose as you can get with Queen. Of course, it got a little heavy-handed on plot over actual real events that happened. They did kind of make up a few things, but I suppose when you try to fit a person's life into 2 hours, it's going to be tough. People complained that his sexuality was underplayed. Maybe, but at the same time though, the real Freddie Mercury, he never wanted that to be a focus on his life. I mean, yes, he loved men, but he didn't want to be known for that. He wanted to be known for his music. He's actually said that at countless interviews. So for the movie to kind of put that as a matter of fact, then a central plot focus, I think that's actually very fair. Finally, we have Ralph Breaks the Internet. It was funny. The references were pretty funny too. I was not that entertained by it. The plot just seemed kind of paper thin. Internet is introduced into the arcade. Ralph and Vanellope actually travel through the internet because they're trying to earn the money to buy something they bid on eBay to fix Vanellope's video game. And I'm sorry, I really liked the first one. The second one, it just... it was funny, but it wasn't as good. That's all. That's the only problem. It was just underwhelming compared to the first one. It relied heavily on the fact that it had the Disney princesses in it, and also Star Wars characters, because Disney. The other problem I had with it was it didn't know what to recognize and what not to. So, for example, since they're in the internet, it shows YouTube exists, but it has Ralph making videos on an imitation YouTube. So it's like they were acknowledging that YouTube exists, but still using another thing. I mean, it's got to be one or the other. But yeah, the movie was fine. So now let's get into 2019, what we have so far, and what I've been behind on so far. If you haven't seen some of the movies I'm about to list off, then you're going to be safe. But if it was the spoiler version, I would tell you where to skip forward to. Now, I don't see every single movie that comes out just because of time, and also MoviePass kind of screwed me over. 2018 was a pretty good year for movies. Fantastic, really. 2019, yeah, I think we had a good kickoff, except for the last movie. So I'm going to list off 5 movies. 5 movies that I've seen so far and we'll kind of cover. First movie would have to be the Lego Movie 2. I expected worse, but it was still pretty hilarious. I liked the direction they were going with. It pretty much continues from the end of the second one. And the voice actors were great. I always enjoy seeing Lego Batman in it. And it had a nice twist. The only downside of the film was it didn't have much of the newness. Fantastic. It was hilarious. I loved the references. I liked the villain twist. I loved the excitement. The only downfall of it was no longer new. So it's almost like we expected it, but they try to keep it fresh. I thought it was weird that the movie became more of a musical than it did in the first one, but the music was alright, so I would just give it a pass. And if they were to make a Lego Movie 3, I would look forward to it. I had low expectations for Lego Movie 2, and I was glad I was proven wrong. Next movie is Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. Okay, so I did not hate the movie. It was not painful to watch. It was just not really as exciting as the hype led it to be. The only good thing about Captain Marvel really was it had Samuel L. Jackson, and it referenced a lot of the 90s. Yeah, it referenced a lot of the 90s in this movie, with the music especially. And me coming from the 90s, I really appreciated that. I never say no to 90s music. As far as anything else, I'm sorry, but I thought Brie Larson was very bland, very boring. And she had this real smugness about her, like, oh, if a man can do it, I can do it better kind of attitude. And they were trying to promote this film about equality and feminism, but it was more of the terrible stereotype of feminism. And, like, my thing with Wonder Woman was, what made her great is, yes, she was a woman and she was a warrior, but she also had her strength in elevating other people around her. She was very supportive and good to the people, and just made everyone around her a better person. Where this Captain Marvel, she just is very show-offish, and not even a fun way. I mean, I would accept all that if Brie Larson actually had real personality in Captain Marvel, but she didn't. I did not like the twist when it came to the villain. Yeah, there's a lot of villain twists, of course, but this one, I don't know. I think with Captain Marvel, it's just kind of proven to me that a lot of these Marvel movies are a bit of a chore. There are good Marvel movies, and the bad Marvel movies are not even horrible, again, but you can tell they're just filler, just so we can get to Avengers Endgame. And this was that. It was just filler before we got to see how we're going to deal with Thanos. Dumbo. Dumbo was a rare, very good live-action adaptation of a cartoon movie. I never was an animated Dumbo fan. The cartoon to me was just short and nonsensical, and I don't mean like, oh, he has big ears and can fly, so it's dumb. I mean the fact that it introduces random elements for no reason, and it's just played off as just a mind-numbing experience. That was the problem with the animated movie. And that's probably why it was short. Like, to me, I never felt like Dumbo, the animated movie, was anything more than just like a cartoon you put for your kids just to shut them up. Racist crows and African American workers working, racism aside, the live action movie was great. I didn't think it would be great because it had little kids in it replacing the mouse to cheer him on, but the Dumbo was adorable. The kids served some kind of purpose. I mean, kids are kids in movies, and they can either be really good or really bad, and they were just kind of right in the middle. But Danny DeVito, great ringmaster. Michael Keaton, great villain. Scares me when he plays the villains, I swear. And even Colin Farrell, he had a purpose as well. And Eva Green, I loved her portrayal as the acrobat. And the movie not just focused on an elephant with big ears, it actually focused on the family of the circus people. It had a lot of sideshow freaks, or sideshow attractions. The sideshow freaks were the ones that moved the stories along because they understood what it's like to be outcast. If you like a movie with a lot of emotional feels and you worry about animals and such, this is the film. Shazam! That is a great DC movie. Alright, people criticize DC movies for being dark and nothing like Marvel, and I encourage that, honestly, because I don't think DC should copy Marvel too much. You can be lighthearted and still be dark as well. And I think that's what we got with Shazam. Suicide Squad's downfall was they were trying to be too much of Guardians of the Galaxy. Shazam, on the other hand, it had like a charm of It, which of course, because one of the kids in the film is from the movie It, and also mixed in with some Stranger Things. Zachary Levi, who has only grown on me in the last couple years, played the part very likable. And Shazam was a superhero I never cared about. I always looked at him as some carbon copy Superman. But in the recent years, they kind of tapped into the whole kid inside of a body of a superhero routine, meaning he has to think like a kid. Because they went that route, I really started liking Shazam. The kids in the foster care, the story is about a boy who discovers that he has been chosen to save the world. And he is placed in a foster home, and the foster siblings are actually loving. The foster parents are loving as well. They actually show concern. They didn't try to play the whole abused foster child thing. It was actually just a boy trying to look for his own home, and he ends up finding it through, his foster family. This thing that happens at the end, I didn't think they would do it so soon, but I'm glad they did, and I can only get into it about that with a spoiler version. This is the non-spoiler, so la-di-da. I am liking the trend where we're going with 2019 right now of our superhero movies, and just any movie in general. But I just saw a movie that is like a complete opposite, and I really hope that's the only flub for the year. I'm talking about Hellboy. I'll be honest, I've never seen a Hellboy comic book. I've never read one. So my only comparison is actually with the other movies. And yes, apparently, what I understand, Hellboy is a dark comic. and it's supposed to be gruesome. And this movie is rated R, and ever since Deadpool came out, everyone's just been making an excuse to make a rated R movie. But just because it's rated R don't mean it's gonna be good. Yes, the gore looked good. I'm fine with gore, and I'm even fine with the cursing, but only if it fits. If you're just saying the F word just to say it because you're suddenly got a golden ticket to cuss, then your dialogue is not going to work out. I did like the monster designs in the film. They were very creative, but none of them can really be anywhere near like Guillermo del Toro's work. The villain was bad, the Blood Queen, and Rasputin, they do show Rasputin, the bad guy from the original Hellboy, and they really undermined him. It's all done in a flashback. I really was just sitting in a theater just waiting for the movie to end. I wasn't that excited. I was actually looking at my watch or my cell phone to see the time just to see how much longer I had to sit through it. I'm sorry, without Ron Perlman being Hellboy, it's just bland. And also, you don't get the same characters as you do from the first movie. And Professor Broom in the first movie was a lighthearted old man. In this movie, he's an asshole. While I do like the actor who played Professor Broom in this film, he just wasn't Professor Broom. In fact, I can say that about all the actors that were in the film. They're great actors, all of them. Everyone did a fantastic job acting. But it was like they were acting in a different movie. If it was a different movie and they behaved that way, I would love the film. But they were in Hellboy, and they were not playing their characters the way I had expected. And I don't think an average moviegoer were expecting. I can tell people in the audience were just getting bored. Like most of these movies, there is a post-credit scene. It's whatever. It was just not anything vital. It was mind-numbing. So that is my catch-up for 2019 so far. Just tell me what you think in the comments. And keep a lookout for my spoiler versions of these movies. Take care.